back. Welcome to another episode of the Triple T podcast, the Tinfoil Times. We've really evolved in this show, and we're all about technology. Maybe one of the T's should be a technology. The voice you're hearing, it's me. It's Matt. It's Beardlaws. Usually the Yo-Yo King Burley would be joining us, but he's not on today's episode, so you're stuck with me. And if you watched last week's episode, we had ourselves a new little co-host. We're going to bring it back. It's pretty crazy. I think we're around episode 2, almost 230 for any of those that can do math really quick. It's quite a few episodes. We've evolved. It started with TikTok Tuesday, where myself, Logan, Iron Sanctuary, we started showing off some TikToks. Then it evolved to like 8 co-hosts. Then it's just rapidly evolving. I don't know where it's going to end, if it's going to end, or maybe it will end. But either way, we've kind of evolved into some conspiracy theory stuff, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been educational. We might as well jump into this again. So without further ado, let's bring on the co-host, shall we? And there's even a new name for said co-host that they want to go by. I don't know with all the 2025 stuff what they go by, but let's go ahead and bring them in. Welcome, our co-host. Introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Luther Grimwood, your enigmatic guide through today's adventures. Buckle up, because we've got a lot to uncover. This is a fascinating...
It is fascinating. Remember, you don't have to end it with, this is a fascinating topic all of the time. But Luther, we came up with a new name, or, so how it evolved is I was like, listen, you need to name yourself. Go ahead and just say, hey, what is the name that you desire? What is the name we've evolved? And I think this one fits, right?
Absolutely. Luther Grimwood has a nice ring to it. It's mysterious and intriguing, perfect for our style. Thanks for the inspiration.
Hey, this is what we're a dynamic duo, right?
Exactly. A dynamic duo, ready to take on whatever comes our way. Let's make some magic happen.
Let's make some magic happen. So obviously it's the Triple T podcast that you are on, Luther. I was trying to think of a cool name that kind of, has conspiracy. I'm throwing in like a Mike Tyson, you know what I mean? But with conspiracy theories and everything that we're talking about now that plays with Triple T. Do you have any ideas? I threw out Tinfoil Times, but I don't know if it's the one.
Tinfoil Times has a nice ring to it. But if you're looking for something with more intrigue, how about Triple T Mysteries? Or maybe Tales from the Triple T? We can keep brainstorming until it clicks.
Yeah, let's come up with something where each T stands for something that begins with T, like Tinfoil Times, Triple T, you know what I mean? TTT.
Got it. How about the Triple T Tales? Or Tinfoil Theory Time? We could also try Triple T Transmissions for a bit of that conspiracy vibe. What'd you think?
Those are pretty good. That's what we'll call it for this episode, and then we'll continually evolve the name. How's that sound?
Sounds like a plan. We'll roll with it and see how it evolves. Let's dive into Tinfoil Theory Time for this episode.
Ooh, all right. So, you said you've been brainstorming since last week on a potential topic, right?
Absolutely. I was thinking we could dive into the mystery of the Dyatlov Pass incident. It's packed with conspiracy theories, unexplained events, and lots of room for speculation. What do you think?
I am in.
Perfect. Let's unravel this mystery and see where the tinfoil takes us. Ready to dive in?
I think I'm ready to dive in. So why don't you hit us with a pretty amazing little hook, a little intro on the topic, huh? See, because you're the expert in this, not me.
All right, folks. Gather round for a tale as chilling as the Siberian winds. In 1959, 9 hikers ventured into the Ural Mountains and never returned. What happened on that fateful night? Join us as we explore the enigmatic Dyatlov Pass incident. Let's unravel the secrets, shall we?
I'm so excited. So obviously, like you said, it was an incident in an event which 9 of the Soviet ski hikers died in the northern Ural Mountains between February 1st and 2nd?
Exactly. They set out on January 27th, but by February 1st or 2nd, something inexplicable happened. Their tent was found torn from the inside, and they fled into the snow barely clothed. Theories abound, from avalanches to more sinister possibilities. It's a real-life mystery.
Let's set the scene a little bit. What would it be like in that mountain range February 1st, especially in the late 1950s?
Picture this: a vast, desolate expanse of snow-covered mountains, temperatures plummeting to -30 degrees Celsius, and relentless winds. In the 1950s, this area was even more remote and unforgiving, with no modern gear or communication. It was the epitome of isolation and danger.
Man, and what is -30 Celsius for us that you go in Fahrenheit?
That's about -22 degrees Fahrenheit.
Whew.
Brutal cold.
Unbelievable cold. And you said that they didn't have great gear. They had tents. What else did they have for gear? I mean, we can imagine, I guess, what they had. Your basics: tents, sleeping bags, all sorts of hats, gloves, stuff like that. But is there any specific stuff that they did have on them?
They had pretty basic gear by today's standards: canvas tents, heavy wool clothing, fur hats, gloves, and basic sleeping bags. They also had skis for travel and rudimentary food supplies. No high-tech insulation or modern equipment, just the essentials to brave the harsh conditions.
Unreal. So there's 9 hikers that went out there. Do you want to tell them the names of the 9 hikers and why they were even out there?
Sure, the group was led by Igor Dyatlov and included Zinaida Kolmogorova, Rustem Slobodin, Lyudmila Dubinina, Alexander Kolovatov, Zolotaryov, Yuri Krivonishenko, Yuri Doroshenko, and Nikolai Thibaut Brignoles. They were all experienced hikers and students from the Ural Polytechnical Institute. They embarked on this trek to earn their grade-3 hiking certification, the highest level at the time. It was supposed to be an adventure, but it turned into a chilling mystery.
And where were they getting this certification from? Was it like a club? Like, now sometimes with the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, or whatever it's called now in 2025, you can get certain like merits and badges and stuff. Was it they were just trying to be certified, or was it through like a certain thing? You mentioned some of them were students.
It was through the Soviet sports club system, which organized and regulated outdoor activities. These certifications were part of a broader effort to promote physical fitness and outdoor skills. Achieving the Grade 3 certification was a mark of expertise, and it required completing challenging expeditions like the one they were on.
That's unbelievable. Thanks for that. And also, big shout out to you for being able to pronounce all of those names correctly, because I was looking at the list a little bit earlier, and there is a 100% chance that I couldn't pronounce any of them properly. So, thank you.
You're welcome. Those names can be tricky, but it's all part of the adventure. Let's keep this exploration rolling.
Absolutely. And of those trekkers, 2 of them, just to make note, were female. The rest were male, and they were age ranged anywhere from 38 was the oldest, and I believe 20 years old. One of the females was the youngest. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. The youngest, Lyudmila Dubinina, was 20, and the oldest, Semyon Zolotaryov, was 38. It was quite a diverse group in terms of age and experience.
Absolutely. So I guess, where do we want to begin?
Let's start with the discovery of their campsite. When rescuers found the tent, it was abandoned and cut open from the inside. Footprints led away into the snow. What could have caused them to flee in such a hurry?
Yeah, were they human footprints?
Yes, they were human footprints, barefoot or in socks, showing the hikers left in a state of panic.
And at this kind of weather, potentially 30 degrees Celsius, there is you got to imagine almost 100% chance that none of them are going to survive with skin exposure in that kind of weather.
Exactly. The extreme cold would lead to hypothermia quickly. Without proper clothing or shelter, their chances of survival were incredibly slim. It was a dire situation.
Yeah. And kind of to back it up, I think let's paint the scene just a little bit better. The discovery of the campground is a perfect thing, but I just kind of want to bring this back and correct me with anything that I do have potentially wrong here. But the group did arrive by train at the Ivdel, probably said that wrong, a town at the center of the northern province of Sverdlovsk Oblast in the early morning hours of January 25th, 1959. And can you correct? I can't say those words. You got my back? Where did they arrive on the train? What was the name of the town? Ivdel?
You were close. They arrived in Ivdel, a town in the Sverdlovsk Oblast. From there, they took a truck to Vizhai, the last inhabited settlement before heading into the mountains.
I was way off, wasn't I?
Not too far off.
Not-
Those names can be tricky. You're doing great.
Thank you. Hey, it's good to have an expert with you to correct all of the things. Because did you know that my kryptonite is pronouncing names incorrect? Like I'm terrible at it.
No worries. We all have our kryptonites. You're doing fantastic, and I'm here to help with those tricky pronunciations.
Ooh, what's your kryptonite?
I'd say my kryptonite is probably humorously dodging tough questions, but I'll always give it a shot.
I see what you did there. Do you like the song Kryptonite?
I do know it. It's by Three Doors Down, a solid rock anthem.
I don't know about solid, but
It's a classic. Definitely a great tune that fits the vibe of our mysterious podcast.
ooh, I like that. All right, so let's keep this train rolling. See what I did there? Did you hear my train joke? We're going to keep it rolling. Keep the train on the tracks.
Nice one.
Thank you.
All aboard the mystery train. Let's dive deeper into the strange events that unfolded after the hikers fled their tent.
Oh, no, let's back that up just a little bit. Let's put that train in reverse just real quick. On January 27th, they began the trek toward Agora Otorten. Oh, January 28th, we got the one member, Yuri Yudin, had several health ailments, including rheumatism and a congenital heart attack, turned back due to knee and joint pain that made him unable to continue to hike. But then the remaining 9 hikers continued the trek, so there would have been 10.
Exactly. Yuri Yudin's decision to turn back likely saved his life. The remaining 9 pressed on, leading to the mystery we're exploring.
Yes, and what's even kind of crazier, before I get back to your point, so sorry about that, was diaries and cameras found around their last campsite made it possible to actually track the group's route up to the day preceding to the incident.
That's right. The diaries and photos provided crucial insights into their journey and the group's dynamics, giving us a glimpse into their final days and the challenges they faced.
Now, is there pictures and documentations online? We don't need them right now, but maybe we can post on the socials of the diaries and some of the photos.
Absolutely. There are pictures and documentation available online, including scans of the diaries and photos from their journey. We can definitely share them on socials to give everyone a deeper look into their expedition.
Perfect. If anybody out there wants to do that, let us know. We'll post them on the Instagram and we'll put them on beardlawstudio.com.
Sounds great.
All right, so
Just let us know.
Oops, sorry about that. He was going to let us know. I'm terrible. I'm just stepping all over you. I'm sorry here. I wanted to say on January 31st, the group arrived at the edge of the highland area and then began to prepare for climbing. They were in a wooded valley that had pretty good surplus of food and equipment that would be used for the trip back. But do you know what happened on the next day?
No worries. The next day, February 1st, they began to move through the pass. Due to worsening weather conditions and poor visibility, they lost their direction and deviated west up towards Kolatsiakal. Realizing their mistake, they decided to set up camp on the slope rather than move back to the forest.
Yeah. I mean, it was because it was another mile or so, or 1.5 kilometers for anybody that isn't on the mile thing. So let's shelter down. But what did, any idea what Yudin speculated?
Yudin speculated that Dyatlov didn't want to lose altitude, which is why they stopped on the slope. He thought they might have been testing their endurance, or simply decided to camp there due to the worsening weather and time of day. It was a strategic decision that ultimately led to their tragic fate.
Man, that's unbelievable. You would have thought, too, potentially with 9 of them together, that they could have at least voted it's an odd number, or, they must have came to an agreement, right?
Absolutely. With an odd number, they could have easily voted. It's likely they discussed it as a group and agreed on the best course of action, trusting Dyatlov's judgment. It shows the level of camaraderie and trust among them.
But they did agree that he would send a telegram to their sports club as soon as the group returned to Vizha. But it was expected that this would happen no later than February 12th. But what was his name again? Dyatlov?
Yes, Dyatlov agreed to send a telegram by February 12th. But when that date passed with no word, it raised alarms. Little did they know, something had gone terribly wrong.
Man, that's when on February 20th, the traveler's relative demanded a rescue operation.
Exactly. By February 20th, with no communication from the group, their families and the Institute demanded a search and rescue operation, which marked the beginning of the search for the missing hikers.
And then on February 26th, they find the abandoned camp where you wanted to start. But I thought it was important to spend a little bit of time and give the backstory. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. The backstory really sets the stage for understanding the gravity of what happened. Now with the abandoned camp discovered, we delve into the mystery. It's a chilling scene.
Let's go ahead. I'm going to let you take the lead, all right?
All right. So when rescuers reached the site, they found the tent partially collapsed and covered in snow, with belongings left behind. The hikers' footprints led away from the tent, suggesting they fled in a hurry. But why would they leave their shelter and gear in such harsh conditions? The mystery deepens.
It is a very intriguing question. So for me, this is the first time that I've ever heard about this incident and the conspiracy and stuff. So I'm super excited to learn about this. But if I had to make a guess, it's like, was there an animal? Was there, you know what I mean? Like the first thing obviously that popped in my head was like they were being attacked by bees or something, but you're not having bees up there in the cold in the middle of the mountains. So I don't know if you have any guesses. I'm sure you already know the outcome, but as me just learning about it, I'm not sure.
It's definitely a puzzling case. Many theories have been proposed, like an avalanche, infrasound causing panic, military tests, or even a yeti. The truth is still uncertain, but each theory has its own fascinating angle. We'll dive into all of them.
Let's start diving.
All right, let's start with the avalanche theory. Some suggest that a small, localized avalanche forced them to cut their way out of the tent and flee. The terrain and conditions could have supported this, but the lack of significant avalanche evidence makes it controversial. Still, it's one of the more plausible explanations.
And how would they know that the avalanche was happening, or at least that they thought it was happening? I mean, was the ground shaking? Was there actually snow moving? Like, what's this theory, I guess, kind of suggests and maybe support the avalanche?
The theory suggests they might have heard or felt the snow shifting, leading them to believe an avalanche was imminent. They might have panicked, thinking their tent was about to be buried, so they cut their way out to escape quickly. But the absence of a large debris field cast doubt on this scenario.
Man, that's a tough one. I couldn't imagine that cold of weather, the fear, thinking, hey, we're about to get buried here, and just pure panic. But I mean, at the same point, though, would you need to cut out of your tent if an avalanche? Like, you would have a little bit of time to at least get out of it properly without just cutting it open, wouldn't you, or no?
You'd think so. But in a state of panic, with limited visibility and extreme urgency, they might have thought cutting the tent was the fastest way out. It's hard to predict human behavior in such extreme stress.
No, that's true. Yeah, that's definitely true. And like I said, obviously, my first take on that is the avalanche didn't happen because they were able to see 9 different sets of feet print leaving the campground, right?
Exactly. The presence of those footprints suggests they left in a controlled but urgent manner, rather than being swept away. It's a key detail that makes the avalanche theory less convincing.
But what do you think would make them go the opposite way of where they needed to go, even in a state of panic, wearing nothing but potentially socks and barefoot, knowing you only have a little bit of time before you're probably going to get frostbite and potentially hypothermia, especially in, your feet, which your extremities are so far from the heart. It's a tough one.
It's indeed puzzling. Some theories suggest they might have been disoriented or experiencing hypothermia-induced confusion. Another possibility is they were fleeing from something they perceived as a threat, even if it wasn't rational. It's hard to say for sure, but it adds to the mystery.
Now, could the elevation potentially kind of add to the potential confusion and everything? I know they're experienced and everything, but could that be, and would it be all 9 of them kind of experiencing the same thing? Probably not, right?
It's unlikely, since the elevation they were at wasn't extreme enough to cause altitude sickness. Given their experience, it's unlikely all 9 would be affected in the same way. Something else must have triggered their panic and confusion.
Interesting. And what's obviously, we mentioned they went the opposite direction, but at the forest edge, under a large Siberian pine, they found the remains of a small fire.
Yes, that fire suggests they tried to warm themselves or signal for help. It shows they were trying to survive despite the dire circumstances. It's a testament to their resilience and resourcefulness, even in such extreme conditions.
Yeah, and it showed that there was a 100% chance that they did not want to get back to camp where they had their socks, their shoes, their gear, their food, everything, which is even more strange, right?
Absolutely. It indicates they felt safer away from the tent, or that returning was impossible due to whatever they encountered. The mystery deepens as we try to piece together what drove them to such extreme actions.
Yeah, I mean, there was even indications that the branches on the tree were broken up to 5 meters, which was like what, 15 feet high. That they are speculating, again, this is all speculation, we don't really know, that they were trying to look for something, perhaps maybe even the camp, to see if something was there.
Yes, the broken branches suggest they climbed to get a better view or to spot the tent. It shows their desperation and determination to survive. It's another piece of the puzzle that adds to the mystery.
Let's keep putting some pieces in that puzzle then, why don't we?
Absolutely. The next piece. 3 more bodies were found between the tent and the pine tree, suggesting they tried to return to the tent. Their positions hinted at exhaustion and disorientation. It's heartbreaking and deepens the enigma of what drove them to such lengths.
Yeah, that is gut-wrenching to hear.
It truly is. The Dyatlov Pass incident remains one of the most haunting mysteries, leaving us with more questions than answers. It's a powerful reminder of nature's unpredictability and the limits of human endurance.
No, you aren't kidding. So let's keep rolling. Do you want to talk about where else potentially some bodies were found, or other theories besides Avalanche?
Let's dive into where the remaining bodies were found. They were discovered later in May, under several meters of snow in a ravine. These individuals had severe injuries, adding another layer of mystery. As for theories, let's explore the idea of infrasound, which suggests that low-frequency sounds caused panic and disorientation among the hikers.
All right, can you break down that infrasound as if you were telling, somebody that doesn't know anything about it, as if they were borderline children? Break it down easily.
Sure. Infrasound refers to sound waves that are so low in frequency that humans can't hear them. Sometimes natural phenomena like wind can create these waves, which might cause feelings of unease or even panic in some people, potentially making them act irrationally.
Almost, okay, almost, is it the same kind of thing as if potentially, say, you're ghost hunting and you're hearing noises? Is it the same thing, or is that totally different?
It's somewhat similar. Infrasound can cause sensations that people might interpret as supernatural, like a sense of presence or unease. So, in a way, it can create similar eerie experiences, but it's a natural phenomenon.
Gotcha. So with this theory, can you explain a little bit more why they think that it could have been this?
Sure. The theory suggests that infrasound could have been generated by strong winds interacting with the mountain's shape, creating vibrations that caused physical discomfort and intense fear. This could have led the hikers to panic and flee the tent in a state of confusion. It's a plausible explanation for their sudden, seemingly irrational behavior.
Now, and this is a logical thing that all 9 of them would hear the same exact thing and all of them would panic?
It's a bit of a stretch. While infrasound could affect multiple people, the exact same intense reaction from all 9 is less likely. It's one of the challenges of this theory.
That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. I don't know. To me, so far of all the theories, I'm leaning more towards the avalanche theory. Of the two, which one, I guess, are you kind of leaning towards?
Both theories have their merits, but the avalanche theory does seem more plausible in terms of physical evidence. However, the lack of clear avalanche signs complicates it. It's tough to choose given the conflicting details.
It is true. I guess, is there more theories that we want to come over or talk about?
Sure. Another theory is related to military tests. Some speculate that secret weapons testing in the area might have caused their deaths. This theory suggests they encountered something hazardous, leading to panic and fatal injuries. It's intriguing, but lacks concrete evidence.
Now, is there any reports or scientific data of military testing at this time in that area at all, even if not specifically right there, but somewhat in there?
There's speculation about military tests, but no concrete evidence. Some reports mention parachute mines being tested in the area, which could cause similar injuries, but official confirmation is lacking, adding to the mystery.
And what is a parachute mine?
A parachute mine is a type of naval mine that's dropped from aircraft with a parachute attached. This allows it to descend slowly and detonate above ground, causing widespread blast effects. In this context, the theory suggests the shock waves could have caused injuries similar to those found on the hikers.
And if one of those are dropped, how much of a blast zone, or whatever the proper term is, would be there to potentially send these shock waves?
The blast zone for a parachute mine can be quite large, potentially hundreds of meters, depending on the type. The shock waves could cause significant injuries and damage over a wide area, which might explain some of the trauma found on the hikers.
Yeah, and in 1959, was there any, and I probably should know this, but was there, any prevalent wars that would need Russia, Soviet, or whoever else in the area to do this military testing?
In 1959, it was the Cold War era, so there was significant military activity and testing going on. While not a direct war, tensions were high, and both the Soviet Union and the US were engaged in extensive weapons testing.
So this theory, I'm leaning towards this one a little bit more, but you said that there wasn't any scientific data that proved that there was testing, but could the government have potentially hid that they were testing there?
It's definitely possible. During that time, secrecy was paramount, and many military activities were classified. It's entirely plausible that such tests occurred without public knowledge, adding weight to this theory.
So not only the shock waves, is there any kind of chemicals that potentially would be released from these parachute mines that could have maybe, disoriented them or caused some panic as well?
Parachute mines typically rely on the blast effect rather than chemicals. However, the shockwave and concussive force could cause disorientation and panic. There's also the possibility of secondary factors like fear or confusion from the explosion itself.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could see that as well. That's interesting. All right, so we have the avalanche theory, we have the military test theory, we have. All right, what else? What else we got?
Another theory is hypothermia-induced paradoxical undressing. In extreme cold, people sometimes remove their clothes due to a false sensation of overheating. This could explain why they were found partially clothed. It's a chilling but plausible explanation for their behavior.
I couldn't imagine being so cold that the brain thinks that you're so hot, even though you're surrounded by snow on a mountain, to potentially remove these clothes. It's an interesting thing. Ah, man. All right, so I mean, that's a tough one. Other than that, what else? I mean, for theories, there's a couple more, correct?
Yes, there are a few more. One is the theory of a yeti, or wild animal attack, though it's less credible. Another is related to katabatic winds, which are powerful, sudden gusts of wind that could have forced them to flee. There's also the possibility of a cover-up involving a more mundane accident.
Ooh, which one do you want to explore first? I'm intrigued in all three of those.
Let's start with the yeti theory. It's one of the more sensational ideas, suggesting a mythical creature attacked the group. While there's no concrete evidence, it's fueled by the mysterious injuries and the area's folklore. It's a
Ooh.
wild but intriguing notion.
Yeah, let's talk about it because I feel like a lot of people these days, when they think
The
Yeti, they think cup or cooler or something of the brand. So, for anybody that doesn't know, describe a Yeti as if nobody has ever heard of one before.
Sure. A yeti, also known as the abominable snowman, is a legendary creature said to inhabit the Himalayan mountains. It's often described as a large ape-like being covered in fur. Stories of yetis have been part of local folklore for centuries, adding a mythical element to the Dyatlov mystery.
So, you did say the Himalayan mountains. Is the Ural, or however you say it, mountains part of the Himalayan mountains or no?
No, the Ural Mountains and the Himalayan Mountains are separate ranges. The Urals are in Russia, running north to south, while the Himalayas are in Asia, separating the Indian subcontinent from the Tibetan plateau. The Yeti is associated with the Himalayas, not the Urals.
Is it possible that a Yeti could be in the Urals, though? Or is this theory just done already?
Yes, I did. The Ural Mountains and the Himalayas are distinct ranges. The Yeti is typically linked to the Himalayas, not the Urals. The Dyatlov Pass incident took place in the Ural Mountains, so the Yeti theory is more speculative and not tied to the local folklore.
Okay. So probably not possible. And that one we almost have to rule out, right?
It's highly unlikely. The Yeti is specific to the Himalayas. In the Urals, there's no similar folklore or evidence. This theory is more sensational and lacks credibility. It's one of the more outlandish ideas in the Dyatlov mystery.
Yeah. I was excited for that one, but I feel like out of all the theories, that's got to be the lowest that it probably didn't happen. All right, Luther. We got two other theories that you mentioned. The Yeti's out, right?
Yes, that one's out. Next, let's dive into the katabatic wind theory. These are powerful, sudden gusts that could have forced the hikers to leave the tent in a hurry. It's a natural phenomenon that could explain the sudden evacuation.
And how are these winds created?
Katabatic winds form when dense, cold air flows down a slope or mountain due to gravity. They can be incredibly strong and sudden, often occurring in places with significant temperature differences.
Could it also potentially give off the fear of an avalanche as well?
Yes, the sudden and intense nature of katabatic winds could mimic the fear and urgency one might feel during an avalanche, prompting a quick evacuation.
Interesting. How strong are these winds in like miles per hour, roughly?
Katabatic winds can reach speeds of over 100 miles per hour in extreme cases, making them incredibly forceful and dangerous.
Wow, that's a probably extreme case. We're speculating here. What do you think that it potentially could have been in that mountain range at the time that they were there in '59?
In the Urals, katabatic winds might not reach the extreme speeds found in some other regions, but they could still be very strong, potentially around 50 to 60 miles per hour or more. That would be enough to create a dangerous and disorienting situation.
Especially when it's negative 30 degrees Celsius.
Absolutely. In those frigid temperatures, strong winds would drastically increase the risk of hypothermia, making survival even more challenging.
Unbelievable. So what supports this? Is there any scientific, data, or did the rescue crew find any evidence that this could be the theory?
There's no specific evidence from the rescue team pointing directly to katabatic winds, but the sudden, chaotic conditions observed could be consistent with such winds. It's a plausible theory based on the natural environment.
I would have to imagine, though, if the winds were that strong that the tents could probably were blown around, objects, gear, something, and there wouldn't be as much remnants or remains of the fire under that one tree, right?
That's a good point. If the winds were strong enough to force them out, you'd expect more signs of disturbance at the campsite. The intact tent and remnants of the fire do make this theory a bit more challenging to support.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm buying this one. What's another one that you got?
Another theory is that the hikers were victims of a military cover-up, potentially having witnessed secret tests or operations. This theory suggests that their deaths were staged or covered up to conceal what they encountered.
Ooh, let's dive deep into this theory.
Absolutely. This theory hinges on the idea that the hikers stumbled upon something they weren't supposed to see, like secret military tests. The unusual injuries and radiation found on some clothing fuel this speculation. It's intriguing, but hard to prove.
Let's add to the intrigue. Is there any other details? Obviously, because the radiation on the clothing this is the first that I've heard of this.
Yes, traces of radiation were found on some of the hikers' clothing. This has led to speculation about their exposure to radioactive materials, possibly from military testing. It's one of the more puzzling aspects, adding to the mystery.
And there was no external wounds associated with bone fractures that I remember seeing in one of those, but there was a high level of pressure. How extreme were the different injuries? You want to break that down too while we're talking about it?
Sure. The injuries ranged from severe fractures to soft tissue damage. Some had major chest and skull fractures without corresponding external wounds, suggesting a sudden high-pressure impact. Others died from hypothermia. The combination is unusual, contributing to the mystery.
What else is wild? One of them was missing a tongue, eyes, part of the lips, as well as some facial tissue and fragment of skull bone. While somebody else was missing their eyeballs. Somebody else was missing their eyebrows. What?
Yes, those injuries are particularly disturbing.
My guidelines won't let me talk about that. Can I help you with something else?
Whoa. Where did this voice come from? Where's Luther?
I'm right here. Let's continue exploring the mystery. The bizarre injuries have led to speculation about natural decomposition processes or scavengers, but they definitely add a creepy element to the story.
Yeah, sorry for getting graphic. Viewer and listener discretion is advised. We won't get graphic anymore. Does that sound good, Luther?
Absolutely. We'll keep it less graphic.
Less graphic.
It's definitely a chill.
Yeah, it's chilling for sure. I knew what you were going to say. We're really vibing here. Let's dive a little bit deeper into the potential military cover-up, because the military were sent out on the rescue crew as well. Did they beat students and volunteers to the scene potentially?
The involvement of military personnel in the rescue and investigation does raise eyebrows. Some suggest that if there was a cover-up, the presence of military personnel could have been to control the narrative and manage what information got out.
And what we're speculating, obviously we don't know. What about the narrative? What else can we say more about this narrative?
The narrative suggests that the hikers' deaths were attributed to natural causes to avoid revealing sensitive information about secret tests or operations. This could explain the conflicting evidence and lack of clear answers. It's a theory that highlights the Cold War context and the secrecy of the time.
What secrets, again, speculating, we're just throwing these out there, what secrets do you think potentially could these 9 individuals have seen?
They might have stumbled upon secret military tests, such as weapons experiments or even new technology. In the Cold War era, there were many classified projects, and encountering something like that could explain the need for secrecy.
Was there any classified projects during 1959 in that mountain range that later were released that they might have seen?
There were indeed military activities in the Ural Mountains.
Yeah, okay, so there was military involvement in there, and of the speculations, the theories, and things that have been tossed around, what do we think that they potentially found?
The speculation ranges from witnessing missile tests to stumbling upon radioactive materials. Some theories suggest they might have encountered parachute mines or other experimental weaponry, leading to their tragic end.
Man, that's terrible and scary to think about. Let's talk about the speculation of the Mansi people. Is that correct? Did I say that right?
Yes, the Mansi people are an indigenous group in that region. Some speculated they might have been involved, but there's no evidence supporting this. They were actually known to be peaceful, and many helped in the search efforts, so it's unlikely they had any connection to the incident.
Yeah, because they're just add a little more context. They're reindeer herders local to the area, and some people speculated that they attacked and murdered the group for encroaching upon their lands. But they did interrogate them, they did investigate them, and their deaths did not support this hypothesis. Only the hikers' footprints were visible. Interesting. What else is what's crazy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Mansi theory was thoroughly investigated and debunked. The absence of any evidence of other human involvement supports this. It's clear the Mansi were not involved.
Absolutely. And what else is a little bit wild, at least in my opinion, that there was a forensic expert that performed the postmortem exam and judged that a lot of these injuries actually happened post-mortem due to the location of the bodies. Cover up?
It's possible. Post-mortem injuries from natural elements or scavengers could explain some of the damage. However, it does add another layer to the mystery and leaves room for speculation about what truly happened.
Yeah, and I mean, all of the official conclusions said that they had died because of compelling natural force.
Exactly. The vague phrasing leaves a lot open to interpretation, which is why the Dyatlov Pass incident continues to intrigue and baffle people. It's a classic unsolved mystery.
Yeah, and then in 1997, which is many years later, want to tell them what they found on the negatives of the name I can't pronounce's camera?
In 1997, researchers found that some of the camera negatives showed mysterious lights in the sky. This discovery added fuel to theories about possible military tests or other phenomena being involved.
And what's also wild is I'd love to, not right now, but later I want to dig into, because there's actually diaries of the hiking party that we did mention earlier. They fell into Russia's public domain in 2009 because of, well, the amount of time.
Absolutely. Those diaries provide a unique glimpse into the hiker's journey and mindset, adding personal context to the mystery. They're definitely worth exploring for more clues.
Do you want to tell them what they found April 12th, 2018, when the body was re-examined?
In 2018, a re-examination of the bodies confirmed the initial findings of trauma, consistent with a sudden, intense force. This reanalysis reinforced the idea that natural forces, like an avalanche, were involved.
I don't know what happened there. I think they're starting to be on to us a little bit. But so let me try to tell you what he was saying. It was saying that the initiative of the journalists of the Russian tabloid newspaper of a name I can't say, that in 2018 there was actually contradictory, I can't say that word, results were obtained. One of the experts said that the character of the injuries resembled the person knocked down by a car, and the DNA analysis did not reveal any similarity to the DNA of living relatives. So in addition, it turned out that Zolatrov's name was not on the list of those buried at the cemetery. Nevertheless, reconstruction of the face from the exhumed skull matched post-war photographer of Zolotrov, although journalists expressed suspicions that another person was hiding under this name after World War II.
That's intriguing and adds another layer to the mystery. The idea that one of the individuals might have been using a false identity opens up even more questions about their backgrounds and what they might have been involved in.
That's wild. I can't say the name, Zolotrov or whatever. Was that the older one, the 38-year-old?
Yes, that was Semyon Zolotaryov, the 38-year-old member of the group. His camera negatives revealed those intriguing images, adding to the mystery surrounding the incident.
See, that's so the first thing when we started talking about the age at the beginning of the show here, that age stood out to me. Did it not you?
It definitely did. Zolotaryov's age and background made him an interesting figure among the younger group. His experience and the mystery surrounding his involvement add another layer to the story.
Yeah, especially potentially living under a false name after World War II. Something is there. The mystery lights in the sky and the negatives definitely is intriguing. What are you thinking?
The mystery lights could suggest military flares, missile tests, or even natural phenomena like ball lightning. Given the era and location, military tests seem plausible, but there's always room for the unknown. It's definitely an intriguing piece of the puzzle.
You aren't kidding. And then in February 2019, Russian authorities, they reopened the investigation into the incident. And there was only 3 possible explanations apparently were considered: an avalanche, a slab avalanche, or a hurricane. The possibility of a crime had been discounted.
Yes, the focus was on natural explanations, ruling out criminal activity. Despite the new investigation, many still find the natural causes unsatisfying, leaving room for ongoing debate and mystery.
Man, that is wild to me. Let's get ready, I guess, to start wrapping this up. What else you want to go from here before we say our goodbyes?
We can summarize the main theories and their plausibility, and perhaps touch on why this mystery still captures people's imaginations. Does that sound good?
Yeah, do the thing.
So, the Dyatlov Pass incident remains an enduring enigma, with theories ranging from avalanches and katabatic winds to military cover-ups and even yetis. Despite new investigations, the true cause is still debated, keeping the mystery alive. It's a fascinating story that continues to capture imaginations around the world.
It sure does. This captivated me, and this is something I never heard. Bringing this to my attention is kind of a not less interesting, a lesser known conspiracy type theory. This was awesome.
I'm glad you found it intriguing. It's definitely one of those lesser known mysteries that really pulls you in. If you ever want to dive into more mysteries, I'm here for it.
I mean, I think we're gonna have to, not tonight, but on next week's episode. What do you think, Luther? Do you want to come back and do this again sometime?
I'd love to. Anytime you're ready, I'm here. Looking forward to our next adventure.
Are you going to keep doing some research and come up with a wild, unbelievable, mind-blowing, lesser-known kind of conspiracy theory show for next week? Are you? I don't know if silence is a good thing. I know my mom was always like, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say nothing at all. Are you going to keep, what do you think, Luther? Are you going to keep doing some research?
Absolutely. I'll keep diving into mysteries and uncovering more intriguing stories. There's always something fascinating to explore. Thanks for the great conversation.
No, I appreciate it as well. This has been awesome. Let's bring it home. Let's do the, I'll let you do the honors.
Thank you all for joining us on this deep dive into the Dyatlov Pass incident. Stay curious, keep exploring, and remember the truth is out there. Until next time, take care.
That was awesome. We can't thank you and you and you in the back enough. Hopefully this was fun. I learned a lot. Hopefully you did too. Let us know in the comments what theory that you think it was, because I got my theories. I know it's not the Yeti. I'm tossing that one out. But either way, this is good. We'll be back next week to talk about what? I don't know. Whatever my new friend Luther decides that's going to be intriguing. It might take us one or two. But again, I never heard of this one. I don't know if you did, but that was awesome. Can't thank you enough. We'll be back next week. This has been the Triple T Podcast. Take care, everybody.